supervised by Dr. Nancy Gerber, who's here in the house. So I've been an art therapist for 20 years and worked with all kinds of different people, and I also became in the last 7 years really interested in positive psychology. So as an art therapist, working with people who were challenged in various different ways, working with kids with emotional problems, but as somebody who became interested in positive psychology, really looking at how those people could thrive and had strengths that were pretty amazing. So, and I also wanted to use my own strengths as I moved forward in doing research. And part of that was being an artist myself. So I became very interested in art-based research. So this study kind of it's at that place where it kind of intersects all those different interests of mine. So the purpose of the research was to explore the dynamics of expressing positive emotions within the intersubjective art-making process for 5 co-researchers in the Mid-Atlantic. So let me just break that down for you. It's got a little bit of a mouthful. So in art therapy, generally the idea is that we would draw our feelings out. Has anyone ever heard of art therapy before? Okay, so we have this general idea that the idea is to express emotions and that this is helpful and healing and that emotional expression is good for us. And yet, as I dug into it, there wasn't a lot of research really showing how this gets done or what parts of it are healing or how that works between a client and a therapist. So I was very interested in that, and I was also interested in the way that a lot of times we focus on, what the challenges are and expressing more difficulties and challenges we've experienced, but what happens when we experience expressing positive emotions, which I don't know if anyone is familiar, but there's been a lot of recent research around the benefits of positive emotions. Have anyone heard this about the recent sort of science of happiness and how it turns out that feeling good is good for you and has a lot of positive health effects. And so I wanted to explore this, so I worked with other art therapists in the area to explore this together. And so the question that we looked at was, what are the dynamics of expressing positive emotions within this intersubjective, meaning between two people, art-making process? And, I had all these sub-questions around really exploring this. How does this happen? What happens in all different ways? Really trying to get into what happens when we express ourselves through art, and what meanings can we find? So the way that I did this research was through arts-based research. So arts-based research is, I like to say it's to the left of qualitative research, which to some people makes them jump back in horror, but other people say, ooh, how juicy, tell me more about that. So it's systematic inquiry, like all research, but using creative arts. So in my research findings involved the video, I had poetry, I did artwork with the individuals, and then I also did artwork on my own, visual artwork, like paintings, collage, and you could even do like dance or drama. So there's all different kinds of arts ways of exploring topics that is a form of research. And it's particularly useful in exploring these little bit of a tricky subjects that are about emotions, that are about social experiences, things that don't tend to get very well understood through quantitative ways of knowing. So, and it's really helpful for disseminating findings, which is what I'm doing today. So here's some pictures of me and the co-researchers. If you're familiar with maybe participatory research, think of that, participatory or community-based research. that's kind of what this looked like, because I really was working alongside people who were co-researchers and not just research subjects. And it was an IRB-approved study. We did a process that I'll show you in the video, of videotaping, making artwork about some emotions, and then I made artwork in response, and I brought that back to the person, and then together we made some more artwork. So I'm just going to, well, just tell you a little bit about the data analysis before we watch the video. The data analysis was also done through art making, as well as looking at the data through a matrix of key findings. Also, I used qualitative software like MaxQDA. Is anyone familiar with that software? Helping to organize all the different information that I have. But also using artwork as a way of knowing, as a way of uncovering information that I would not normally have found. And I had all these research results, like I have explained. There's painting, I had a theoretical model about how all my findings work together. I also wrote short stories and poems, and made this video, which I'll show you. I think I'll show you. I will show you when our friend here helps me to turn it on.
I'm Gioia Chilton, a doctoral candidate in the PhD program in Creative Arts Therapies at Drexel University. To help figure out how art therapy works, I've asked fellow art therapists to make artwork with me to explore how people express feelings through art. The focus of this research was on positive emotions, those that feel good, like joy, gratitude, or serenity. But we tried to be open to any experiences that came up. This is the story of Monica and me, and how together we discovered meaning in our artwork. Here I've asked Monica to make a picture about how she's feeling.
I heard about one of the experiences I had when I was living abroad in Italy, and we were on the beach in Capri, and there were these huge cliffs, and it was just a spiritual and serene sense of peacefulness. Which is kind of where the paper and also the art, and just the awe of being in this unbelievably beautiful place. And it was just, indescribably kind of perfect. So that was kind of where I was taking the art to. And then with this little girl with the heart, Valentine's Day was just a few days ago. And my boyfriend and I, we had dinner and whatever, and he got me this, like, I'm still thinking about this, like, just really sweet, thoughtful, wonderful gift, and it just has made me just feel like I'm walking around with this feeling of love lately. So I really connected to her. So I just wanted to put her in this kind of beautiful, but also kind of mystical, energetic place.
Do you feel like you expressed any emotions in this picture? I heard you talk about a couple of different things. Awe, emotional
and love.
And love. And then we also talked about like a serene peacefulness. It sounded like it was sort of a powerful experience of this serene peacefulness.
Yeah.
Awesome experience.
Yeah, kind of just that there's a greater, a connection to something greater than me.
I think you could make another artwork to kind of further express the emotions that you talked about.
Those two kids we talked about, kind of awe and love, and it's, I was thinking about being both grounded and contained, but also reaching and expanding and growing. Because I think that's what I get from both of those emotions. Like that experience of awe I was talking about, like made me feel so grounded. I mean, it's like being in the ocean, but like connected to where I was physically. But also, I mean, just a huge sky above me. Like there's this infiniteness of the universe is kind of the same way. As in that feeling of love, to feel so present and feminine. I don't know how to explain it. I just realized this is a bird's nest story. Like the concept of a bird's nest from attachment and all of that, but like you're at the nest, it's contained like 6 times over, so apparently I need some containing, I don't know. No, but just having something be held, but also like the capacity to also grow. Such a connecting experience. It's so hard to find like specific words to talk about things like awe and love and peace. Like it's just, I feel like I can almost convey it more with hand movements, the word art.
I can feel it now, being with you. I feel like I'm back to lab, and
And this was your second piece, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, there. And this was my piece. And maybe I will get this long. And then I can put her in this, kind of integrating all those things that you were talking about. This sort of scene there, the landscape scene, but also that sense of, you talked about being grounded and connected at the same time.
Yeah, it's almost like the bottom of a bowl, right? Like containing kind of from the bottom up this way. And I like that in yours, it becomes kind of more whole. Like it's the whole sphere. Like looking at these now, it's almost like, these sides above here. It's like I want to see the rest of it, and I kind of see that in this one, if that makes sense. Like I feel like you kind of took it to the next step almost.
I was thinking about the color, I really love the idea of the color and that rainbow, because the beauty and the feeling is just so amazing. And then I also wanted almost a sense of the celestial sense of being connected with the universe, and kind of like, it's spiritual. It felt really spiritual to me, talking about like an awesome sense of love, and like a universal love. So I had that sort of sense of, I don't know, when I went with the black on the edges, it was like putting that into, the universe, or it's words fail me.
Yeah.
It's hard to explain. Yeah. Otherwise, we wouldn't have to do our work.
You can just talk.
Yeah.
It's like gratifying to know that not only did you hold on to the artwork, but that you were taking care of those things in the meantime, and like thinking about the awe and everything we talked about last time, and joy, and like making it something your own. Like I kind of feel like I handed it off to you, and then you just made it kind of bigger and more realized, and now you're kind of handing it off to me, so it's kind of like this back and forth, but it only gets kind of bigger and stronger each time.
In response to talking about the pictures and doing the artwork, do you enjoy me making some more artwork?
Yeah.
And let's see, to reflect on the work that we've done here, and maybe help make sense of it even more.
Yeah. I liked starting and then giving it to you, like you kind of see what you would come up with and see what I would come up with, and I think that part of it worked really well. And certain things, like certain placements and how things were going to go, I feel like we were already on the same page with that.
Yeah. Well, once you had her and then the background, the light, and then the color, you know, it's like, within the tree, that was really, I like when that came in there.
Well, especially putting the birds in, it almost felt, I started feeling like, oh, is this like a tornado that's like sucking these poor helpless birds in and they're trying to fly away?
And yeah, I was worried if they were swarming and then I debated with the doves because I was like, ooh, they're pigeons, I don't like their red eyes, they're freaking me out. But maybe that's the shadow, that this stuff is so powerful that it could be like a tornado, or it could sweep you away. Almost like you could lose yourself in a transcendent moment. And it is like you don't feel, you know, where you changed. In some ways, it's like you lose your innocence, or you gain it, or something.
I mean, that for me is about the power of the art and how quickly something can go from safe and what you're expecting, what you're trying to do, to something that's overwhelming and has taken on a life of its own. But like for me, being able to put the tree in there was like my coping with that, you know, giving myself a structure.
But it's still, I feel the wind, right? And you know, like the wind all around here. Right. There's this movement.
But she's so calm and steadfast. So just looking at her, you don't feel, just for me, I don't feel overwhelmed by it because she's in control.
And she's a goddess. And are there any last comments that you want to make?
I don't think so, other than thank you.
Art that is arts-based research into what is the expression of positive emotions in the intersubjective art-making process. Thank you.
Thank you. We have our three presenters come up and we'll bring some chairs up and have an opportunity for questions. Does anyone have any question they want to start with? I'm going to say thank you. I think you all have really interesting projects and research and such diversity among the group. It's wonderful. I can ask a question. Chelsey, I was wondering if the project had, how do you get supplies like medicine and things like that for your project? How is it donated or?
Most everything is donated. So the Foundation of International Medical Aid for Children allows volunteers to go to their different sites, and a lot of the time volunteers will bring medical supplies, medicines, etc.
Did you run into any problems where you didn't have a medication that was needed?
All the time. Yeah, especially like antibiotics, we would run out, and so we'd have to think of a different medication to give them, or just not give them the medication, tell them they have to buy it, which most of the time they couldn't buy it.
Laura, quick question. For the lit review you're doing for your chapter, Is there a lot of literature out there about interdisciplinary LGBT
No.
curriculum?
It's really, you have to incorporate other models, like especially from which I'm proud, but the National Association of Social Workers. They do a lot on interdisciplinary approach, but is specifically LGBT, and really LGBT health in general has so little data on it that we even talk about it when we started the Lit Review, and there was a woman within my chapter that has been in kind of this research in LGBT for almost like 30 years, and she's like, yeah, I just let you know there's nothing. Like there's so little, and that was one of the needs, is that we need more data. So yeah, it was very, very difficult, and most of them are taken from other specialties.
Gioia, Dr. Chilton, I was just going to ask you how do you get your patient, like how do you get your referrals in the arts therapy?
Well, our art therapy is really interesting because we work in all different locations. Like some art therapists would work in schools with, say, kids with special needs. Other art therapists would work in hospitals. There's art therapy. Art therapist works across the street in McGee Rehabilitation. There's art therapists that do international work or with LGBT population. You know, so there's all kinds of. I'm actually, like for your Lit Review, I was like, ooh, I can send her a couple articles. I know a few things. So, you know, and there's also among the creative arts therapies, there's also dance movement, which I think you were saying is maybe they're starting a project down in.
Yeah, they just started that.
Yeah, and music therapy, which is used in medical settings quite a lot. So, because we're in all these different settings, there is like an interdisciplinaryness to the work, because those arts therapies are pretty much drawing from the creative arts and psychotherapy or medicine to develop, you know, treatment for different individuals wherever they are. The people I worked with were other art therapists. I particularly selected them because they were a population that was going to be able to talk about their artwork. And as we know, sometimes communicating across all kinds of barriers can be really challenging. So that particular group I knew was trained to make artwork and talk about their feelings. And so I knew it would be less risky in terms of you know, being able to talk about what they felt without later feeling that, you know. And it was in this project I continually went back and checked in and really took a informed consent as a process, not a one-time event approach, because, you know, particularly with this participant, Monica, who obviously is very much out there as a, you know, the star of my video. I continually checked in with her about her consent and her willingness to participate. Mm-hmm.
Is it common for an art therapist to be making art with your client or your patient, or is that generally how it goes, or is this something different?
It would depend on the client and the patient. It depends on the moment and the needs that come up. There might be a time when you know, obviously the whole idea is that as long as what is done is in the service of the patient's needs. So if it's the art therapist feels like, oh, this is a good, I feel like doing a piece of artwork, that obviously would not be, you know, clinically recommended to go forward. The idea is that the artwork would be in some way reflective or even like a scaffolding for the person in therapy. So if it's a child, they would work with the child, like, well, I'll make this part, and can you, or will you tell me what color you want it to be, or that kind of thing, giving them choices. Or what I was doing was a kind of practice in art therapy called response art, where the therapist makes artwork in response to what the client brings, which, as you saw, can bring up all kinds of things. You know, people have all kinds of responses. Yeah. So yes and no.
Yeah.
Well, I don't see any other hands raised, but if we could maybe have each of our presenters give us a summary of where do you think things are going in your field or your presentation or your research, for the future? Where do you think things are gonna move ahead in the next few months or years? You could each tell us kind of some ideas.
Yeah.
And if you don't know, that's okay too.
Yeah, so mine is kind of exciting. So coming up soon is we're going to have that standard healthcare. Currently, right now, what they're doing is have a couple lessons a month. It's usually volunteers that come, they do what they want. A lot of times it's brushing your teeth, because toothbrushes are really easy for us to get. So that's going to be exciting. They're going to be able to have a plan. The people in Costa Rica don't have to plan it. It's already going to be, everything's done for them. So that's going to be really exciting. The other big movement is we found a new space for the clinic while I was down there in Costa Rica, and we just got the clearance to move. So we will not be having falling ceilings anymore, and they're going to have more space for dance therapy, along with more medicines to be shipped there, and etc. So it's a really, really exciting movement in that.
I think that it's a very exciting time to be a part of the community and seeing all the changes. I mean, I'm very proud to say that I'm married, and I also think that the focus in that aspect of it, and the political side, will have an effect on our healthcare system. And I think the Affordable Care Act really does address a lot of the needs of the community, as well as making sure access to healthcare services. So I think it really is a wonderful time. As far as education, I think that the more focus that we have on it, the more other programs will see that this is a need that we have. And I think the community also showing their face and being out and open and vocal is very is needed. So I think it's a wonderful time in the life of the gay community.
So. In terms of art therapy and the creative arts therapies, I think also healthcare changes and the Affordable Care Act is going to help us provide more services to more people that maybe otherwise wouldn't be able to have mental health services or wouldn't be good candidates for traditional talk therapy. And I also think that there's a booming movement in terms of the community arts and action movement, as well as arts-based research. My particular form of research that I was doing, people in the art education field as well as healthcare are really using the arts in a lot of very diverse, innovative ways to forward people's stories, to get the opportunity to hear voices they wouldn't normally hear come forward, and to bring new ways of looking at everything from social justice issues to how we can bring spirituality into healthcare.
Thank you very much. Any other comments, questions from the group? No? Thank you all for being here. This is a great opportunity for students to present their work, and it's so interesting to find out what everyone's doing in different departments, different disciplines. So thank you all for coming, and thank you for presenting.
Thank you. Please take more food. There's plenty.
More food.